Hello, I'm doing a movie review, as you could probably tell from the title, and reviewing the movie with me is my friend Eric Casey, otherwise known as Dreammaker Productions. Sorry, I talked over you there.
It's okay.
We have a problem with talking over each other in a lot of the reviews we do together.
It's okay, I said hi.
It's okay, we need to like work on that. Let's try not to do it in this review.
Okay.
No promises. But the movie we're reviewing is...
Right, exactly.
Fuck. The movie we're reviewing is Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. I refuse to call it Batman v Superman because that's a stupid fucking title. But it's Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Even though the justice did not rise or dawn. There was no dawn of justice, sadly.
Okay. Now, the film is the 2016 sequel to the film Man of Steel, which was Zack Snyder's reboot of the Superman franchise. The film is also a reboot of the Batman franchise. This film is, and it's unconnected continuity-wise to any of the previous Batman films, like the Christopher Nolan Batman films. Now, prior to this movie coming out, there was some speculation that this might tie into the Nolan films, but it doesn't. It's a pure reboot. And it's the second film of the DC Expanded Universe. So yeah, what do you think of this movie?
I've seen it 3 times in the movie theater, and I have it on DVD. And every time I watch it, it's just like it's just like Man of Steel. I mean, there are some good parts in it. You get some good entertaining moments out of it, but for the most part, it's just a piece of crap, and it's just so disappointing.
I'll disagree with you about it being just like Man of Steel, because I personally liked Man of Steel. Go back and watch our review of Man of Steel. I liked Man of Steel.
If you want me to convince you that Man of Steel is a bad movie, obviously it didn't work with him, though.
Yeah. I liked Man of Steel. I thought Man of Steel was flawed, but I still thought it was a good movie. This movie, on the other hand, when I first saw this in the theater, when I got home, I wrote on Facebook, I just saw Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. And my consensus at the time was, it's an enjoyable mess. I enjoyed it for the most part, but the movie's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
And truth be told, you're probably going to carry this review a lot more than I am, because I did not rewatch it in preparation for this review, so I haven't seen it since, like, it came out in theaters back in, what was that, March or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I couldn't bring myself to rewatch this. Even though I enjoyed it a little bit when I saw it, it's just like, I couldn't bring myself to watch the fucking movie again.
It's okay. I don't blame you.
Yeah. But
So,
you
want me to take care of the plot? You want me to go into that?
Yes, go into the plot.
Okay, so Batman vs. Superman starts off with the introduction of Ben Affleck as Batman, or Bruce Wayne. In the middle of the battle at the end of Man of Steel, there's a great recreation of in the opening of Batman vs. Superman, great opening scene, opening recreation of the battle for Man of Steel. And building collapse, Wayne Industries building in Metropolis collapses, Batman gets all mad and pissed, he has his vendetta for Superman, and then it goes on and there's this whole plot involving Superman, Lex Luthor, and Lois Lane, trying to figure out this bullet because Superman got set up, and by Lex Luthor, we think, and then...
You lost track of the plot. I think the movie lost track of the plot, too.
Yeah.
I'll try to explain it as best as I can in the simplest of terms. Superman appeared in Man of Steel. This is set sometime after the events of Man of Steel, and Superman appearing pretty much changed the world as we know it, which is realistic. I mean, if a being like Superman
it's an interesting idea, definitely.
If he really did reveal himself to the world, things would change.
Without question, yeah.
And I did like how this movie tried to touch on that a little bit, how society really would change if something like that happened. Doesn't do it that well.
It didn't do it that well because there's just, I wouldn't call it lazy, but just simple cutaways to like news stories about, Superman is back and stuff. Well, basically talking about these space monsters that came from space, and also there's like a little bit with like the people, but there's not really much going on. Like Zack Snyder focuses on Superman, and which is another. I know we're trying to
let me finish.
Yeah,
let me
finish up the plot.
Okay. So in the film,
so
in the film, billionaire Bruce Wayne, played by Ben Affleck in the movie, who is secretly a masked vigilante known as the Batman, does not like Superman at all because he feels Superman is a threat to the human race because he realizes if Superman ever decided to turn against us, it would pretty much be human extinction. Like, there's no stopping a being like Superman.
Pretty much.
So Batman tries to... In his mind, Superman is evil, so throughout the film, he's trying to figure out a way to stop Superman, and at the same time, Superman does not like the ethics of what Batman does, and ultimately the film leads up to a battle between Superman and Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they eventually become friends when they realize, oh, there's a greater threat, Doomsday, which... This movie completely fucked up Doomsday, and Lex Luthor is involved, and some other shit about that magic bullet you mentioned. So,
God, yeah,
there's some kryptonite here and there.
From watching it 3 times, pretty much the entire plot of Batman vs Superman was completely set up by Lex Luthor somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow Lex Luthor, played by Jesse Eisenberg, figures out that Batman and Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill are Batman and Superman, or Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent are Superman and Batman somehow.
He clearly saw Clark Kent just take his glasses off.
Yeah, he sets up Superman with the bullet thing because Superman goes to save Lois Lane, and he has like an inside person. That basically set him up, setting people on fire and stuff like that. And he sets up Batman to have the vendetta against Superman for basically taunting him by sending him letters saying your family died. Because somehow Lex Luthor knows that Batman has daddy issues, and that would piss him off.
Yeah. Now, I do want to ask you, you've seen the extended cut, which is 4 hours, right?
I think it's like 3.5 maybe.
Okay, do they explain at all in the extended cut how Lex Luthor really found out how Bruce Wayne is Batman and all that?
No, like those types of questions, not really. You can kind of assume that he just knew because apparently he's been looking into the metahumans, which somewhat makes sense, but it doesn't. I feel it doesn't explain it enough. Where I can accept the fact that Lex investigated, because later in the movie, should we reveal that? Anyway,
let's just give away. Let's not give away spoilers.
Let's not.
Yeah, let's not give away too many. Spoilers.
Okay. Well, I'll give away this one. Lex Luthor is looking into the metahumans.
Okay, that's not. You know what? We've explained that for. Let's not give away like stuff like the ending and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, Lex Luthor reveals. He's looked into the metahumans and everything around the world. Basically, their little teaser for Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
And I assumed he just came across Superman and Batman too somehow.
Yeah.
So, but no, the thing is, the extended edition does explain the bullet a lot better though. I will give it that, and there is a little bit more world building.
Okay.
In the extended cut, do you remember the soldier guy with the glasses who was in the Sahara Desert? Who
vaguely.
That guy. He plays a much bigger role. He's basically the insider for Lex Luthor, setting everything up. His character was better instead of just showing up for 5 minutes and then disappearing in the theatrical cut. Yeah.
Now, Wonder Woman is also in this movie. Now, what do you think of Wonder Woman in the film?
I liked her. I liked the actress who played her. Initially, I wasn't a fan of it, but for me, she has the look, but I felt like she needed to bulk up a little bit more, but I thought she did a great job with the material given. I think she's a great Wonder Woman. The problem is that she exists in this extended universe, and that's the problem that I have with it, because I hate this extended universe.
Okay. And the movie also features brief cameos from like The Flash and Aquaman and Cyborg, which were really freaking unnecessary.
Yeah, that was the scene that I was talking about before. Batman sends Wonder Woman an email because part of the plot was they were investigating Lex Luthor, and this is how they find out that Lex Luthor was investigating into the metahumans. And my problem with it, I would have been fine with it. My only problem with it, I'm sure it's nitpicking, but God damn it, Lex Luthor created the logos for all the superheroes. If you look on the folders for all the superheroes, it has each individual logo.
Honestly, I don't even think that's nitpicking. I think that's just fucking stupid. So,
just why?
And I do want to bring up, in the film, there are a lot of these dream sequences where Batman, he has these dream sequences. Like, there's a part in the beginning after his parents get killed, you see these bats surround him and they lift him off the ground. Now, when I saw that in the theaters, I was like, the fuck?
I was like that too, but then I was like, it's symbolism, it's fine, it's blah blah blah.
It was a dream sequence, so okay. There are other scenes. There's a scene where he has a nightmare where a demon bat attacks him. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that could have worked in a different movie.
Yeah, with Scarecrow being the villain.
Well, not even just that. I don't care. Like, I don't care about the dream sequences. Like, a movie that could have worked in a different movie. Like, if it was just a Batman movie and didn't have all this other plot in it, that could have worked. The problem is you're throwing that stuff in with all this other shit.
With the Superman, Wonder Woman, and what happens at the end.
I think the biggest problem with this movie is overload. There's so much in this movie. Yeah. And really, the plot should have been simple. It really just should have been, okay, picking up where Man of Steel left off. Maybe Batman, you realize there's a Batman in this universe, and then you set him up a little bit, and then lead to some kind of fight. And then maybe have another villain there. Like, you could have made a simple plot out of this. Yeah. And I don't mind complicated plot lines if they're well written.
Yeah,
this wasn't well written.
Like, for me, they shouldn't have had, if anything, a reference to Batman, but they shouldn't have had him in this movie. All the extra shit that's in this movie should not have been in this movie. I don't care. Okay?
So your point is this should have been just a simple sequel to Man of Steel?
Yes. Right. It should have just been Man of Steel 2, like they said originally when they announced it. But they had to throw Batman in because they know Batman's popular right now because of the Arkham games and, the Christopher Nolan movies. They just had to shove him in there because they know a lot of people have been looking up to this. But the point is that one of the satisfying things about it is the build-up and all the adventures leading up to that moment when Batman fights Superman. But the problem is you had one movie to establish Superman, you had to re-establish Batman, and instead of making them their own individual stories with their own ideas and canons, you just try to shove it all in one movie. It's just too much.
To be fair, it could have worked even as a Batman versus Superman movie. It's just...
It definitely
you could have just had brief things establishing Batman, and that's it. You didn't have to have everything that this movie had.
Yeah, but it's clear that DC and the writers have no idea where they're going with the extended universe. That's the biggest problem with all these movies so far. They're making references here and there. Like everyone freaks out about Robin's costume, not, with the ha ha ha, I did that.
Yeah, the film...
And everyone's like, oh, Joker, oh my god, Joker! And it's like, I don't care. I haven't seen this new Joker yet, whatever. I haven't seen what happens.
Well, you've seen him in Suicide Squad. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But, okay, in this universe, it appears that Batman's been around for a while in this universe, and it appears that things similar to what happened in the comics happened in this continuity, the whole seeing Robin's costume. Obviously, it was probably Jason Todd, so that's a reference to the story arc, Death in the Family, where Jason Todd gets killed by the Joker. Yep. So, it appears that roughly in this continuity, things that happened in the comics also happened in this universe.
Naturally. My problem with it is that they're throwing it in as eye candy, Easter eggs, for the fanboys to go crazy, but yet there's no context to it. And it's like, this is a story that happened that I wish I could have seen leading up to this, instead of throwing it in and being like, what the fuck happened?
I did like, there was a reference that I think might have been a reference to Two-Face, where Bruce Wayne says to Alfred, how many good people are left in Gotham City and how many of them stayed that way? I can't help but to think he might be referencing Harvey Dent in that scene.
He most likely is.
Yeah.
But again, we have no context leading up to it, so it could have just been a throwaway line at the time, and then they make that movie. Maybe if the universe lasts that long, maybe.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of Ben Affleck as Batman and Bruce Wayne?
Well, to me, Kevin Conroy is God, Michael Keaton is live-action God, but Ben Affleck is better than even Val Kilmer, George Clooney, and Christian Bale, in my opinion.
Okay.
He's the second best Batman. He's close to being Batman God, but not there yet, because I've only seen him in one movie.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I thought he did a great Bruce Wayne. I thought he was phenomenal as Bruce Wayne. I was a little underwhelmed by his Batman, though.
Really?
I don't know, maybe I have to see the extended cut to appreciate it more, but I don't know. For me, at least when I saw it in the theaters, I was somewhat underwhelmed by his Batman, but I thought he nailed the Bruce Wayne part.
Well, yeah, for me, as you know, when they first announced that Ben Affleck was going to be Batman, I didn't fall too deep into the crazy people that were like, Ben Affleck can't do it. Because I thought he was a perfect Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
It's Batman that I was concerned about.
Here's the thing. So many people whined and moaned and bitched about Ben Affleck being Batman.
Yeah.
Not for nothing, people did the same thing with Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's arguably one of the best people to play Batman. In your opinion, he's like the best, at least live action wise.
Yes, and I think the Nostalgia Critic did a video on that, and he basically summed it up perfectly. The fact that you wouldn't expect Michael Keaton being Batman is the perfect reason why he would be Batman.
Yeah.
But in Ben Affleck's case, I can understand why people thought that way, especially with the fact that Christopher Nolan wasn't directing, because people kind of had a little bit of a hoopla when Anne Hathaway was casted as Catwoman.
I thought she did fine.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, with how Heath Ledger did the Joker and how Christian Bale did Batman, because people do love Christian Bale and Heath Ledger's Joker and everything. The fact that Christopher Nolan was the director, people were like, okay, they were more accepting of like Anne Hathaway as Catwoman, because they thought they're under a great director. There's no way he'll fuck it up. He hasn't fucked it up. You know, he's 2 for 2 home runs. You know, but the problem with this though, Zack Snyder's your director, and also you're leading up with Man of Steel, which Man of Steel is no Batman Begins or Dark Knight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, I can get the concern, and for me, though I disagree with the people that say that he couldn't do it, period, because I was one of those that said he was the perfect Bruce Wayne, but Batman is what concerns me, because I'd never seen Ben Affleck as like the dark, gritty, intimidating force, and yet I would even make the argument that he did that better than even Christian Bale with his, you know, smoking cigarettes voice and whatever. Like, I like the voice changer and everything, but Ben Affleck nailed the part perfectly.
Okay.
And, I do want to see more Batman movies as Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. Again,
you just don't like this universe.
Exactly.
I think this universe could work fine if there were better writers for the movies. That's my biggest problem.
The problem is we're 3 movies in, and each one had just so many problems.
Man of Steel was good. Your opinion is wrong on Man of Steel.
But that doesn't matter. Even I do agree, Man of Steel is the best movie out of all of them. But Man of Steel wasn't good enough to build your universe around, I think.
Fair enough.
I think, because I didn't think there was enough material there at first. You needed another movie or two just to either expand the Superman mythos or expand the universe a bit. Problem is, you're going into the popular stuff already. Yes. Stop it. Stop trying to catch up.
Now, what did you think of freaking Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor?
He was god-awful, and he's not Lex Luthor. He's Lex Jr.
He's Lex fucking Luthor.
I know.
But
under the freaking credits, under the freaking IMDb page, leading up to it, he was freaking Lex Luthor. I don't care what anybody says. He is a terrible Lex Luthor. When you're comparing Lex Luthor's performance to the Joker, you done fucked up, movie. Okay?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, if he was playing a character that wasn't Lex Luthor, I would say it's not a bad performance.
Right.
For Lex Luthor, and I understand, there are different Superman continuities.
Yeah.
Like, in a new universe, you want to reestablish things, make things a little different.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't Lex Luthor, though. Okay, it was, but like it wasn't a good Lex Luthor. Didn't have any of the what's the word I'm looking for? Didn't have anything that made the character a good character.
Any of his personality or his traits. They tried to do something different with it, which I'm hesitant to say admire. The thing is, they went with a completely different direction where it doesn't fit the Lex Luthor character.
Yeah.
And people are trying to defend it by saying he's somebody else. Sure, they make reference to maybe the real Lex Luthor is somewhere in the universe. He just wasn't involved in this movie. But again, why do that?
Yeah, I do want to... The Red Capes are coming.
God damn it.
I do want to point out that what I think they were trying to go for, and truth be told, when I first saw like the previews, I was like, maybe I could get behind that.
He's a whiny little brat just consumed with rage for some reason.
Yeah,
like
well,
there's no reason for him to be angry at Superman.
Can I make my point?
Yeah, go ahead.
What I think they were trying to go for was, I think they wanted to do this whole thing with Lex Luthor is basically a spoiled brat. He's a spoiled rich kid who thinks he can get away with anything. In a way, a villain like that could work. The thing with Lex Luthor, though, is I kind of like the Lex Luthor that in his own mind thinks he's doing the right thing, thinks he's actually protecting the world from Superman.
Yeah.
Because he, like Batman in this movie, he feels Superman is a threat.
I agree.
And you actually compared the Lex Luthor that you would want to see to the character of Big Jim from Stephen King's Under the Dome.
Yeah.
Like, and the Lex Luthor we got in this movie, if you want to make Stephen King character analogies, reminded me more of the character of Percy from The Green Mile than he did of Big Jim from Under the Dome.
Yeah, because the way I thought going into before Batman vs Superman came out, I thought going in that when I heard Lex Luthor was going to be in it, I was like, okay, Lex Luthor, yeah, that makes sense. I think it would have been a really great idea for him to rebuild the city and kind of make him feel entitled to that. That Superman destroyed my city, I rebuilt it. Everyone should be admiring me, but yet everyone still admires Superman mostly. You know, I felt that was Lex Luthor, and even with the crazy Joker Lex Luthor in this story. Like, they could have played that, I would have been more accepting to that because he's just a spoiled brat who literally rebuilt the city. His anger is justified because he literally rebuilt the city.
What I think would have been a good Lex Luthor, a good motivation for him is, let's say he's somebody who lost somebody very close to him during the Kryptonian attacks on Metropolis in the first movie, and he has a grudge against Superman because of this, and that's his motivation. I think that would have been a really good motivation for the character. They didn't do that, of course.
Like, that would have been a good idea, or, like I said, my idea, where he just rebuilds the city, and yet everyone doesn't really acknowledge that. You know, people acknowledge him, but people are more interested in Superman than him. And he's like, what the fuck, people? I rebuilt your city, quite literally. Why aren't you, giving me attention?
Now, and I would say my biggest problem with this movie, as I mentioned before, is they're throwing way too much into one movie. Yeah. For one, the movie is taking a lot of inspiration from like Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
And also it's taken a lot of inspiration from the Superman comic, The Death of Superman. Mm-hmm. That's a kind of a spoiler.
Kind of a spoiler?
But they're taking a lot of inspiration from all these other comics. They're not really throwing the references to those comics in very well, and it's just too much in one movie. Like, also, there's that scene where Batman has a vision of a post-apocalyptic future where Superman goes rogue and destroys the Earth.
Supposedly.
Yeah, well, we'll have to. Obviously, they're setting up a future movie, but that's the problem. This movie is all setting up for future movies, throwing way too much into one movie.
Yeah.
Like, in that scene where Batman has the dream, which turns out it's more time travel, you find out, where he sees the post-apocalyptic future, and you also see all the creatures from Apocalypse.
For some reason. I know why, it's set up for a future movie, but in context of the story, it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, it's so random in the movie, and that's the biggest issue.
It would have worked if he was still awake, though. That's the problem. Like, the way they shot it, they made it seem like he was sleeping twice. Like, I can't even describe it. Like, he sees the vision of the apocalypse, he wakes up, and then there's a flash right in front of him saying, "Lois is the key, blah, 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 blah." And
is
then
that
he
what he
disappears,
says?
and then he wakes up, yeah.
Right.
And then he wakes up again. It's like, huh? It literally, the way it was shot was like he was like inceptioning it right there. It was like he was sleeping once and then he was sleeping again and then he just woke up into reality. Yeah. It's like, this setup, you completely fail because we don't even know what is reality anymore. What is your reality, movie?
It's a mess of a movie, and you know what? I still don't hate Zack Snyder. A lot of people hate him. I don't, because while this wasn't a very good movie, I still liked Man of Steel, and you know what? Prior to Man of Steel, he did some good movies, like his remake of Dawn of the Dead, I still like. I love Watchmen.
Yeah.
The problem is with this, I don't know if I want to blame the script writer, because the script writer is the same guy who wrote freaking Argo. Like, he's a good screenwriter.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to blame the script, Zack Snyder, or if I should be blaming DC in general.
I'll tell you who to blame. DC in general. Because, let me tell you, the extended cut, it doesn't fix all the flaws and everything. The flaws are obviously from business suits that are saying, this is popular, throw it in. This is popular, throw it in. Okay? Those are the guys that you should be blaming, because when I watched the extended cut, I was actually very surprised because the theatrical cut is a bit confusing. The extended cut explains mostly everything that you had, like the plot is more coherent in the extended cut. I will give it that. But it's the main flaws of the universe building and, all the things that happen that just don't make any sense because of the way they're shot or whatever. The point is, DC is at fault here.
Yeah.
Also, another thing, Batman makes a freaking what's it called? Like a kryptonite staff. You remember?
Yes.
The spear to defeat spoilers, and Lois Lane fucks up again.
Yeah, there's a big fuck up that Lois Lane does at the end, which here's the thing, Lois Lane's a great character in the comics and all that. She's a great character in general. I mean, she's great. She's a good character.
She's a great character.
But this character...
This version of Lois Lane is terrible. She is the worst ever. The worst ever.
And here's the thing. Amy Adams is a good actress.
She is.
But she's not well written in these movies. Even in Man of Steel, which I liked, I'll admit, she came off as... In Man of Steel, she came off as a little one-dimensional. Well, maybe not two-dimensional. In this, she just comes off as kind of stupid. And that's not Lois Lane. Lois Lane's an intelligent character.
I'll give you a better word. Useless.
Okay.
Well, actually, I take that back, actually. She was kind of relevant with the bullet thing. But it was not because... But it's not because... God. This is the problem with Lois Lane in this movie, too. Okay? Lois Lane, sure, she's in love with Superman and everything. But her character is that she's focused on the story. That's why she's so infatuated with Superman. It's because Superman is a story, at first. Mm-hmm. But it eventually leads to a love life. But initially, in these beginning moments, these are beginning stories with Superman, she is pursuing the story. And that's... The problem is, while she's investigating the bullet, it's not because she's trying to get the story out of it and trying to figure out what the story is behind this bullet. It's because she's trying to save the love of her life, Superman. Know your characters! God!
Yeah. Okay.
So frustrating.
Okay, we already gave away that this movie takes a lot of inspiration from the death of Superman.
Yeah.
We'll give that away. Superman does die at the end, and here's the issue. They didn't establish Superman enough in this universe to do that yet. If they want to do a movie based on the death of Superman's story arc, what they should have done is make this like a trilogy.
Yes.
Like, don't have Superman die in this movie, but in the third movie, have Superman die, have that be a big deal, and then obviously they'll bring him back in like another movie, but like have a third movie based on the death of Superman's story arc. Yeah. That would have worked so much better.
There was no reason for him to die. There was no reason for Doomsday to be in this movie. There's no reason for 90% of this plot.
And also, this movie completely fucks up Doomsday because I've read the death of Superman's story arc, but I know that's part of a much larger series. I didn't read the other books in that series, but apparently later on you do find out where Doomsday came from. And a friend of mine explained it to me once. I forgot exactly what the details were, but I know it definitely wasn't his origin in this movie.
No.
Because in this movie, Doomsday is pretty much Zod. Like, Lex Luthor does some weird shit. And
he's basically an abomination. What he should have been called is Abomination, like in the Incredible Hulk movie. Because what he does is, Lex Luthor he somehow bribes the government to giving him Zod and his spaceship. And with that spaceship, he's able to learn, all the knowledge of the universe, I guess, or something like that. And he discovers that if he mixes blood with Kryptonian DNA, it would create an abomination. Literally, the machine said it was an abomination, but Lex Luthor dubs it Doomsday. In the comics, to my understanding, Doomsday's
basically, from what my friend told me, was Doomsday was a clone, but he was made from basically these people who are constantly recloning it and
basically
training it to be an unstoppable killing machine.
Yeah.
My friend who actually read this comic could probably explain it a lot better than I am.
From what my friend told me, because he actually has a problem with the comics version of Doomsday's origin too. From what he told me, it's basically evolution gone wrong, but in his opinion, that's not how evolution works in the way that they portrayed it in the comic. But personally, I hate the origin. I would say this origin story for Doomsday is worse, because all he does is he mixes his blood with Zod, and for me,
it was completely unnecessary to have Doomsday in this movie.
To me, it doesn't make any sense because in the context of Man of Steel, really, they really don't really make humans out to be like special beings. We're just another being in the universe. It doesn't make any sense to me how human DNA mixed with Kryptonian DNA would create such an unstoppable monster that literally kills Superman.
We already gave that spoiler.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. But with that said, I kind of wish that they made a reference to like Bizarro.
Okay.
I think that idea would have worked better, because basically it's like an abomination that goes wrong. He's basically Bizarro.
In order to make a reference to Bizarro, like, Bizarro would already have to exist. Like, I think...
No, but what I'm saying is the idea of Bizarro, a failed clone of Superman created by Lex Luthor, they pretty much had that with Doomsday, and they could have just called him Zorro as the Bizarro of Zod.
Okay.
That's how I pictured it, and then he's like, "It's your Doomsday," and I'm like, "God damn it."
The red capes are coming.
Shut up with your damn red capes. Red capes can kiss my ass. Anyway.
We should probably end this review off here
before I kill myself.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts on Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice?
I would recommend the extended cut. There's some good moments here. It's got great action, no matter, disregarding all the annoying stuff that really makes you want to just pound your head on the wall. It's entertaining, which is the least you could say for most bad movies in like this case. It's a mess. It can be a fun mess. But if you're a DC fan, I would recommend it, but I would demand, hold DC accountable and just, try. It's hard for me to say, man, because I want to love this movie. I want to love every single one of these movies.
But you did.
But I can't. Because it's just so flawed. And it's just, who's looking at these scripts and saying, that's a good idea. I want to slap you. Anyway.
So that was our review on Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Our next review will be Suicide Squad.